April 17th, where we're reading Judges 6 and 7. Now, this starts the story of Gideon, and Gideon is a fascinating story. I do not like how these chapters are broken up, particularly because Gideon's story is really continued in chapter 8, but you'll have to wait until tomorrow to see all the bad things that happen at the end of it. Instead, we're introduced to a little man of no repute, and God uses him to accomplish something great. So, if you're interested in the specific details of the breakdown of each individual chapter, we'll start in chapter 6 and talk a little bit about Gideon's story. In chapter 6, Midian is brought in. Israel sins again, and God brings in this nomad nation of Midian, who I believe would not normally be able to conquer Israel, but God gives Israel into their hands anyway. God is punishing Israel. He's allowing even the little insignificant nation of Midian great success over Israel. Israel is punished, and so they cry out to God, and God just says, why? This is now what, the fifth time that we've been doing this? Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah. Now we're on Gideon. Now we're on number 5. Why are you doing this over and over and over again? Of course, Israel doesn't really have an answer. They keep on just being evil. And so God does send in Gideon to save them, but Gideon is not going to be that great. He is a coward. He is threshing grain in secret. He is a farmer, but he's not really even willing to do that out in the open. His crops would get stolen. And so God comes to him and says, "You're going to be great." And Gideon says, "I don't believe it. Show me a sign." God shows him a sign, and then Gideon goes and destroys an idol as he is called to. And then Gideon goes and starts to assemble an army, but he's too much of a coward to go through with it. He asks God to give him a sign, and God gives him a sign, the sign of the fleece. And then Gideon asks God for a sign again. And so God gives him a second sign, the second sign with the fleece. And then God requires him in chapter 7 to take his army that was great. He could have had an army and fought off Midian normally, but he doubted God was with him, and he asked for 2 signs. And so God asks for him to do 2 affirmations of faith, to cut down your army basically by half, and then cut down your army to just 300 men. And with those 300 men, you go and attack Midian. With those 300 men, you go and fight them. Really, the strength in all of this is God. God is the one who's driving Midian off. Gideon doesn't understand that. He doesn't really believe that God is with him. But God is there, and God is solving things, and Gideon would go a lot further if he was just faithful. You see the judges. Othniel starts pretty perfect. Ehud is a little bit of a liar. Shamgar's not really a judge. Deborah is, Barak is an absolute coward, and Deborah ends up being the real judge. Gideon is an absolute coward who doubts God straight to his face several times. You see the judges are getting worse and worse, but God is still accomplishing good through them. If you want more details, they're on the written page, and if not, I'll see you tomorrow, April 18th,